Hi, I am Professor Anu Narasimhan from the Desai Sethi School of Entrepreneurship at IIT Bombay. And hi faculty members, and hi every learner in the Foundations of Entrepreneurship course. I am going to walk you in this lesson about a concept called customer value. It comes under a broader module or concept which we call the customer value proposition, and it is very important. Doesn't matter whether you are a startup founder, it doesn't matter whether you are working in a company, it doesn't even matter whether you are talking to your students. In any engagement which has a customer or an end user and somebody who is selling or is pitching, this concept is important. I use the word pitching almost equivalently to the word selling, because even when I am standing here or sitting here today explaining these concepts, I am trying very hard for you to understand them, which means that I need to understand what your psyche is and what is the value that you desire from this engagement with me. So, our class today or our session today is about the concept of customer value. The word value is often associated with companies, with startups, ghar ki value kya hai. So, the word value is used very colloquially. When we use it in this course, we use it to mean what is the value created for the customer and delivered to the customer. So, please bear with me. In our course and in the context of entrepreneurship, value is always from the customer's point of view. It is delivered to the customer, it is in the eyes of the customer. Like they say, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, value is always in the eyes of the customer. And to start, let me tell you why is this so important. So, here is a chart which is done by research globally, and it says why is it that high-tech startups fail. I am going to go ahead and say forget the word high-tech also. Why is it that startups fail? Maybe the research was done in this specific context, and just look at the answers or the reasons given in the rows. The first one says no market need. No market need means we as entrepreneurs created a product or a service or an offering for which there was no demand. There was no customer for it, uski koi market mein need hi nahi thi. So, I repeat, no market need is the failure on top part of the entrepreneur creating something which his customer, her customer does not need at all. The second one says run out of cash, and typically a startup runs out of cash because they did not generate the sales or the revenue that they were meant to generate, not that investors did not give them the money. Investors gave them money, whatever amount of money was needed, but at some point the revenue cycle had to start, and that had not started. The third is not the right theme, not linked to customer value, so I am not going there. Get out competed. Get out competed means competition was better than you. You got out competed. Somebody else in the market was better than you, was better than the product that you delivered, was better than the service that you delivered. Getting out competed means you did not get your customer value proposition right. So, if you look at the top issues why startups fail, no market need, running out of cash, getting out competed, having a pricing issue means you do not know what your customer wants. If you are pricing it incorrectly, it is because you do not know what your customer wants and at which price is it value to the customer. The product is poor, very often engineers say, but our product was great. But no product is sold in isolation. Products are not sold in a vacuum. Products are sold to customers, to living people, for use by others or machines or animals or whatever, but they are sold to people or to businesses. And a poor product is in the context of the customer not wanting that product. So, again and again we keep coming back to not understanding the customer, not understanding what the customer needs or wants, and that is the basic concept of customer value. What is it that a customer is looking for and how best can we deliver to that? So, that is my opening for the concept of customer value, and I go to a psychological theory called the Maslow's pyramid. Some of you may be students of psychology. It is also something which is often used in economics also, but it does not matter if you have not come across this pyramid called the Maslow's pyramid. This is in our context, an entrepreneurship context. It is the pyramid of needs and wants. At the base of the pyramid are our most basic needs, our most fundamental needs, and very often they are physiological. We all need food, we need water, we need warmth, we need a roof over our head. In Hindi we simply say roti kapda aur makan. So, those are the most basic needs that human beings have. In today's world, many of my students jokingly tell me that basic needs are roti, kapda, makan or Wi-Fi, and I fully agree with them, because we cannot live without the internet no matter where we are, but those are the basic needs. And a human being typically will need their basic needs to be fulfilled before they move to the next, which is the higher order need, and at the ultimate form, which is the top of the pyramid, are self-actualization needs. Again, the Indian term for it is nirvana, which means that you have achieved spirituality or achieved maximum potential. So, you have reached where you want to go in life. But let me start not in the context of psychology or in the context of economics, but in the context of consumer and consumer behavior. So, we need our basic needs or our fundamental needs to be met, and then we would like our higher order need to be met, and then the highest order. So, an example that I often use in my class is that of food. I spent many years in the food industry, and maybe that is why it comes naturally to me. So, I won't talk to you about brands, that is not the point I am trying to make, but the point I am trying to make is at the base of pyramid, food's purpose or the need that people have from food is just pet bharna, is just fill my stomach, give me energy to last my day. That is the basic need that food satisfies in a human being's life. After that basic need has been met, which is met by calories, does not have to be healthy, does not have to be nutritious, does not have to be tasty, it just has to fill the belly and let you go to sleep and allow your body to do its functions of the day. Yeah? So, that is the basic needs of food. And again, I will keep telling you stories that students tell me in my class. They tell me when I say this to them that, that sounds like mess food to us. That sounds exactly like what my mess food is. I eat mess food because I have to. There is no other thing available at that point of time. I do not have the money to go out. I do not have the time to go spend on another place. So, the basic needs of keeping my body going by eating is served by mess food. I am not going to do the 5 levels, I am going to do 3 levels, it just makes it easier to understand. So, at the middle level is our community needs, which is love and belonging, and it is also esteem. So, love and belonging in the food context is food that is eaten together. So, it can be home, and they say that the family that eats together stays together. So, food which is mummy ke haath ka khana ya ghar ka khana ya the nostalgia related with food, those come into this love and belongingness. Many products belong here, things that are eaten by sharing with each other. So, many of our food products belong here because we like to eat as a group of people. Food is what gets communities together. So, I mean, think of any festival that we have in the country, and it is around food. Of course, there is a festival, but there is a food that goes around because of that festival, and that is the community and love and belonging need. So, we have moved from the basic need of food to satisfy hunger to a need for this is what we do when we are together. We eat together, we chat with each other, it has got social glue and so on. The next one is esteem. There are some things that human beings do. after they have met their basic needs and they have met their community or love and belonging needs. When you have come together, you might want to stand out. I am not saying everybody is like this, but this is the essential construct of the psychological needs that Maslow, a psychological researcher, brought about to this world many decades back. And it says that people want to blend in and then people want to stand out. So, esteem is a need that is met by some kinds of foods. I want to show off that I am eating a chocolate. So, I will probably hold it in my hand with a wrapper, so you can see that it is whatever brand it is, and you can see that I am enjoying an entire bar of chocolate. It is not a chocolate that has been broken into tiles and shared with people. That is in the love and belonging need. But it is the next level where you are saying, okay, I am standing out, so I have a whole bar and this brand to show to the world that this is who I am. And the ultimate form in food is when you have gone past taste and you have gone past indulgences and you say, no, I am now going to look at food which will make my body perform at its best potential. And that is what athletes do. So, athletes change their entire diet and their food habits. Some of them go vegan, whatever are various routes, but the intent of food goes from filling the belly to love and community to showing off or esteem to actually driving performance of the human body. So, please understand, we have only been talking about this simple act of eating, but the act of eating can start at a basic level, can go to an intermediate level and go right up to the top. And there is business or there is opportunity for entrepreneurs at every level of this Maslow's pyramid. Typically at the base of the pyramid, the number of customers that you have might be larger. As you go up the pyramid, the number of customers might get smaller. The price goes higher up as we go up this pyramid. The lowest price is at the base of the pyramid and somewhere in the middle, and somehow health foods, as you know, charge the maximum in the food category in India today. Yeah? So, just an example using food, we do this with mobile phones in class, and the basic phone is one where people are just calling each other or maybe just text. So, that is the basic need served by a phone. It probably does not even have color. It probably is a black and white phone, and it is not a smartphone, it is a feature phone. So, that is the basic mobile phone. When you want to go further and you want to have the community and so on, then your apps start getting in, and then you need the internet, and therefore you need a smartphone, and you want to share your music, you want to share the kind of shows that you are seeing with each other, and that is where the community comes around with whatever apps that are available to you today for bringing us together. Mobile phone went from a black and white feature phone into a color multi-camera smart device which has internet on demand. The esteem, or very often the word I have seen my students use, they use a word called flex. Flexing is what they say when they want to say showing off. So, when you want to show off, your phone gets expensive and more expensive, or smarter and brighter as the case may be. And when you are self-actualized, I tell myself that I will probably go back to my feature phone. When I am 65, I don't want this smartphone, I don't want 200 mails a day, I don't want so many WhatsApp messages coming. I will probably go back to the good old days of just making calls and sending texts to a few people. So, these are consumer needs and wants, and as entrepreneurs you must find opportunities that exist, and we have spoken about this in our problems and opportunities class. So, you need to figure whether they happen at the base of the pyramid, at the middle of the pyramid, or at the top of the pyramid. The rule of thumb is volume is the maximum at the base of the pyramid. Somewhere in the middle is probably optimized, which means volumes are good too and pricing is high. And so, total profits perhaps are the highest at the middle of the pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, perhaps the volume drops too much for the total profit the profit per phone may be very high, but the number of phones sold there will be low, and therefore the total profit, which is a multiplication of number of units into price, will probably be the maximum in the center band of any category that you are building for. So, this is just to put in context what are some of the needs and wants that customers have, and we go from needs at the base of the pyramid to wants as we go higher up the pyramid. So, as a researcher, as an entrepreneur, as an interested, curious human being, you will analyze the need and you will understand, or you will seek to understand, how is the need being satisfied today? Is the current method inefficient? So, for example, we speak of transportation, going from place A to place B, and we have all seen buses, we have seen local trains. I come from Mumbai, we have seen local trains, we have all walked, we have seen buses, we have seen autos, and then came app taxis to this country. So, what did app taxis do which others were not doing? And you will hear an example later in the same module, where you will realize that they are not necessarily direct competition, but a metro, a local train, a bus, a chartered bus, an auto, a yellow black taxi, all of these are alternatives or even competition as far as app taxis are concerned. They analyzed the need and they said that consumers are taking too long, customers are taking too long to go from place A to place B, and more important than the time was this uncertainty factor. I do not know when I will get a bus, I do not know whether the auto driver I speak to will want to go where I want to go or not. My experience with auto drivers, they never want to go where I want to go. So, the understanding of the need was that it was not being met very well, and therefore app taxis launched. They gave us, on our click of a button, they gave us the option of knowing how far away is the taxi. Do I want a share taxi? Do I want a regular taxi? Do I want a premium taxi? Do I want an auto? Which will take me to my destination fastest? What is the price that it will charge? What is my ETA, which is expected time of arrival? All of that at the click of a button. And they took away from us not the time that it takes to get to another place. That is a function of traffic. Whether you are in Mumbai or you are in Bangalore or you are in Delhi, it is a function of traffic, or in any city in the country, it is a function of traffic. But it lets me know that I can expect a good cab to be available to me in 3 minutes and get me to my destination in whatever 42 minutes. So, this is how needs get analyzed, and my comment here for all of you is, do not compare only exact competitors. Here, even if you are an app taxi, you should not just consider another app taxi, but you should also consider metro and the local train and the bus and the chartered bus, taxi, auto, walking, sharing a car with another friend of yours, etc., and then offer services which are better than what are being offered today. So, that is how needs get analyzed, and this is building the customer value proposition. I am going to show you two ways of building it. The first way is a technology push, which means that the technology exists. There it says solution available, it means that the solution is available. So, EV, electric vehicles, first needed storage batteries. So, first the storage battery, lithium ion or whatever is currently prevalent, was needed. So, the technology was not the combustion engine, internal combustion engine, ICE, which is what normal cars and two-wheelers have, but we needed batteries, electric storage in a battery, and that was, once we had the battery, we could go and find a use case. The use case was a car, the use case was a two-wheeler, people are now retrofitting it onto bicycles and so on and so forth. So, this is where a product is developed, a product is available, and then you go looking for another use case for it. My example that I can tell you is the Velcro. The Velcro is that strap thing. It makes that sound when you, it's on watches, it's on bag straps, and it's on straps of my sandals and shoes and so on. Believe it or not, the Velcro was designed for NASA, by NASA for space research. It was needed for clothing for astronauts in space. So, unlike us who can wear hooks and buttons and bows and whatever, the lack of gravity makes it very difficult to do that kind of stuff in space. So, they needed something that would just stick easy, and that is how the Velcro was born. And having found that, the Velcro has gone and found many other use cases. So, that is what I mean by a solution is available, a technology is available, and you go look for a use case around which to create a market or a company or a startup. More often than not, we do customer value the other way around, which is that we go to customers and we identify a problem and then look for a solution. So, we do not have to go to customers, sometimes we ourselves are customers, so we know what kind of problems exist. In fact, one of the things that VCs say is that we look for entrepreneurs who have had the problem themselves, because the motivation to solve that problem is very high if it is a problem that has happened in your life or in the lives of people around you. So, here is market pull, which means that a customer need is figured, a customer problem is understood, and a solution is designed for it. A solution will go through phases, which is a proof of concept, a prototype, and a final product, but we are not going there now. That we will cover when we come to the new product development. So, you can build a customer value proposition starting with a technology. If you have an intellectual property, wonderful, you can use that to figure the use case, or more often than not, the rest of us find it easier to figure the problems that exist even today. And you would remember that we spoke of the UN SDGs, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and even today many of those have not been met in some form they have been met, but nowhere near satisfaction that they have been met. So, you find a problem and then you go and design a solution for it. Here are some examples. I have put together a set of brand logos on the screen, and I am going to say a name and then I am going to stop so that you can think about it for a few seconds, and then I will come back and tell you whether you have got your answer right or wrong. The question here is, was this product or this brand come from a technology push, which means a solution was available and it went looking for a use case, or did it come from market pull, which is that a problem existed and a solution needed to be found for that. So, let us start with Covaxin, which is the vaccine that we had for COVID. So, answer in your own minds whether it was a technology push or a market pull innovation. This one clearly was a market pull in innovation, because the problem existed, COVID had come, we were all struggling with COVID, we were masking up all the time, we did not know the long term impact, we did not know the short term impact, we did not know how infectious, and therefore a vaccine was needed really quickly. And that is what Covaxin did, or other brands like that did. I just found one example and I have put it out on the chart here. So, clearly this was a market pull innovation. Let us go to Swiggy. Swiggy, again, if I go to the time that they got really popular, was also during COVID. So, there were people all staying at home, barely going out. The homemakers, whoever they were, the mother or the father or mother and father, and maybe grown up children, were trying to figure how to satisfy this need of food and chai and beverages all the time. And at that time, Swiggy was like a big boon. We got our favorite food at the click of a button. It's a habit we have got on to, and even after COVID, we've taken to it, like a fish to water or a duck to water. So, that's a market need, and it was satisfied by an innovation, which in this case was Swiggy. Let me take ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a brand. The category is called LLMs, large learning models, which is the other word that we use for it is actually generative AI, and many of you would have used it by now. All our students are using ChatGPT to turn in their assignments, and then we are sending it back saying, no, we want your assignments, not ChatGPT's assignments. So ChatGPT, the technology came first. We are still finding the best use cases. For example, there are people who are applying it to healthcare. There are people who are applying it only to the legal sector. How is it that ChatGPT or generative AI can get all the information that is available about a legal aspect and make it easily available to a set of paralegals or a set of lawyers, such that they don't have to put in all the effort. So the technology was there and use cases are being found. I put out Grow because Grow and Attenborough, both of them are advertising in a big way in India, and I thought there'd be brands that people would know. So Grow wants to solve the problem of people who want to invest money but don't know how to invest money. Attenborough wants to solve the problem of energy efficient devices. They started with the ceiling fan, they've launched another one in the market. So in both these cases, which is Grow and in Attenborough, the problem existed or the customer need existed, and these two brands went on to address that need. Yeah? So think about, if you have an IP, if you have some research, if you have done some work with your friends in a lab, with your faculty member, and that you think can be taken to market, that gives you an added advantage because nobody else has that intellectual property available to them. The rest of us, like I said, look at demand, look at the customer, look at their needs, and decide what is it that we can do to serve that need. What are the elements of value? The simple explanation I can give you for value is its worthiness. When I use this clicker, what is the value of this clicker? The value of this clicker, by the way, is currently infinity, because without this I cannot do this lecture at all. I cannot be sitting and looking for where is my laptop and click on page down or go back, make a mistake. So for me at this point of time, when I am recording a video to talk to all of you, it's almost infinity. I could not live without this clicker. But having said that, very often value and price get connected in our minds, and here is the difference between the two. I am going to the bottom of the slide, which says price is what you pay, it is the monetary term for the offering, and I would have paid some 6,000 rupees or something for this clicker. Actually somebody else paid, my IIT Bombay paid for this, so whatever, but the price paid for this was around 6,000 rupees say. The value that I get out of it is the benefit, which is very often more than price. And I will explain one simple thing to you, that if price is higher than the value I expect from this product, I will not buy this product. At the time of buying, if this is X thousand rupees and the value I see in it is not worth the X thousand rupees, I will not buy it at all. So value is at least equal to price, and more often than not it is higher than price. An example that somebody in my class came up with was a tablet of paracetamol, and the tablet of paracetamol, and the student, for the sheer honesty, could not remember what does it cost to buy a strip of paracetamol. None of us could get the exact answer. Forget the strip, one goli, one tablet of paracetamol we don't know the value for, but we don't know the price for, but the value of it is being able to sleep, is satisfaction, is being able to get past your cold or your headache or whatever is causing you trouble, and you are a different soul, you know. So that is what a tablet of paracetamol does to us, and that's a good example of value, which is, I don't even know the price, I probably borrowed it from my friend or neighbor next door, and even they don't know what is the price of that one thing, but the value of it is the ability to change my mood, my spirit, everything in 30 minutes. So that is what value means. Value is pretty much equal to or higher than price. If it is lower than price, you would not have bought it or you will not buy it again. So value is also defined in this context. Who is the target market? What was the problem they were having, and what is the solution that is being offered? So let me take the paracetamol example. Students studying late nights and having I don't want to give that example, it's not fair. I don't want you to study late nights, but the target market is someone who's got a headache or has a illness that they need a medicine for. That's the problem. The solution is just one small tablet which gives you, and the value is peace, is peace of mind, is satisfaction. It's far more than the price. I have another example I am often used to giving, which is we are on the road, my family, my husband and me and a few friends, and we are driving in a car, and there is no water bottle or there is no water in the car at all. And we all look at each other and say, oh, but I thought you were going to get it, and say, oh, but you were going to get it, and so on, and none of us have got water, and we're all thirsty, we're also getting a little irritated, we are getting frustrated, we're getting angry because somebody else was supposed to do it, or so we believe. And we drive past a dhaba, we see a dhaba where you can see a transparent refrigerator, and we can see that there are bottles of cold water inside, and cold water because you can see the condensation. The price of that bottle could well be 20 rupees, but if that person asked us for 100 rupees, we'd be happy to pay, because at that point of time our problem is not just thirst, it is thirst combined with many other things, and therefore the bottle of water has more value than just the 20 rupees. So, between the paracetamol and the example of the bottle of water, I hope you are getting a sense for value, and you should always build more and more value into the products and services that you offer to your customers. Price is what they will pay for it, and if you build value, if you create, they will pay you more and more money for it. My last thought on this topic, going back to what I started with, which is this common confusion that people have about company value. So, I said, and I will continue to say it, which is, for me, value is always in the eyes of the customer, what we create for the customer. Valuation is a resultant. So, my company gets valued by investors depending on how well I have delivered value to my customer. It can't be that we deliver zero value to our customers and our investors keep increasing the value of our company. It will never happen. So, as far as I am concerned, all of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring intrapreneurs, or want to create an innovation or entrepreneurship in any form should focus on the customer, figure out their problems, figure out their needs, figure out their wants, create the right solution to address that, and then your company valuation is only a resultant, is a effect, is not the cause. The cause is customer, हमने जो customer के लिए किया, and the result is the valuation of your company, which is often called by unicorn and other words, and that we will cover in the section when we do finance. But to summarize this concept of customer value, it is seen by the customer, it is the worth, the usefulness of the product or service, it is at least equal to price that they have paid for it. More often than not, it is higher than price, because it is not just monetary, it has social and other parameters linked to it. And only when you as a startup founder deliver value to your customers will investors give your company a good valuation. So, the concept of customer value is what we have just covered. Thank you.